Bing, we're live. That's the Google Hangout dance. We are in a Google Hangout. It is Wednesday, and this is the Martin Fowler. Martin Fowler, Scrum. Puneet, Piotr, and Kai are here. Dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry, dzień dobry.
Auf Wiedersehen? No, that's not. How do we say hello in German, Kai?
Hallo kann sein.
Hello.
Oh, hello, and then what did you say after?
No, just hello.
Oh, just hello, just hello. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll remember that. Yes. Yeah. All right. Great stuff. So, I'm talking. So let's start with me. I have just been working on a blog post for Craft Academy, talking about the experience of being in boot camps and what Agile Ventures does and this and the other. Other things that happened recently include yesterday evening we had a big bug with the new rollout for website 1. It looks like the devise upgrade stopped sign up from working. We've rolled back. That was kind of frustrating because it was, we were oh yes, we've upgraded to the latest version of all the gems. So there's some important learning I think to go on there. Look at why that wasn't caught by the tests. Yes, and I'd spent most of yesterday afternoon on working on the Ghost blog and CSS styles and looking at this kind of setup, which is becoming more and more common now, I think, which is basically that organizations will have a static site and they'll have a blog that's Jackal or Ghost or whatever, and they'll have a sort of consistent set of CSS styles across the two of them. So that leaves me, yeah, we made some progress. We're not blocked by anything. The key things that I've got to worry about is I need to get today. I'm behind on my transcribing for week 4 of AV102. That needs to get done. I also need to get this new peer review, pair programming thing that I'm going to be experimenting with for the AV102 students ready. Got to experiment with what are they called? The autograded instructors on Friday. So yeah, that's the key thing for me, is making that happen. And I haven't had a chance to look at any pull requests yet. But that's pretty much the summary for me in terms of what I did, what might be blocking me, and my plans. Yes, let's go on to, Kai was in first. So Kai, welcome. Is it the first Scrum you've joined? You've come to some for Project Unify before, I guess?
Yes. I worked on Project Unify, but that's the first Agile Ventures Scrum.
Yes, good show. So you know the approximate format. Do you want to tell us what you've been doing, if anything's blocking you, and what your plans are?
Oh, okay. I'm just attending here because at the moment I'm taking the MOC for the Agile Ventures, managing distributed teams, and so yeah, I just wanted to look into the Scrum and can see maybe I can help somewhere.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, are you? It doesn't have to be on Agile Ventures. Are you working on code today? Yesterday? Plan to work on code today? What's?
No.
No. Okay. Well, let's see if we can't change that. Okay.
Yes. Maybe.
We'll see. Piotr. Yes. How are things with you?
So I just came to Krakow for a few days.
Oh yeah.
Because I have better internet here, and I have the meeting probably with the CTO of this company that I had interview with yesterday on Tuesday. So for now, I came back to my unlimited internet in Krakow.
Wonderful.
And so we were pair programming yesterday with Zmago on his feature. So basically, we had a problem with one of specs, and we kind of don't understand why it was failing, because it was failing because of Google API, a Google Geocode API that was saying all the time that our query is over limit. But in fact, if you set the same spec on the other base organization spec, there is a similar thing, and it says nothing. So we quite didn't understand why it happened, but we just changed the test not to be dependent from this API. So we just are checking now if we are using the right method, geocode, and in fact in production in development, but when we see the site user experience, everything's working. So We managed to work around this problem.
Wonderful.
And also Zmago asked me to help him with making some tests for features, especially because he was telling me that he was going to also make some specs on views. But you told me that probably you don't want any more specs on views.
Yes.
But one of problems, I'm not sure if it's connected, is that the Travis, or not Travis, coveralls is showing somewhere drop of coverage. And I didn't investigate that yet, but Zmago was telling that he was thinking that because of lack of specs for views.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, we can investigate that together. Yeah. Great. Oh, that sounds like good work. Yeah, excellent. And so, do you have it? Do you have any plan? What are your plans today then?
So I can have spent some time for having a look into this problem, but also I got some exercise, some tasks to do from this new company, and it's like a test for me how I handle that, and then I will be discussing it with CTO. And also I have some things to do here in Krakow, so I don't have so much time today.
Sure.
As yesterday, for example.
Yeah, no worries. No, I meant more. Which is good to know. I meant, did you plan to, I guess, hook up with Zmago again at some point? But you're not sure when.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Good stuff. Oh, I'm really pleased that you were able to hook up with him. That's wonderful. Great. Let's just go on to Puneet. How are things going with you, Puneet?
Hi, Sam. Nothing is blocking me at the moment, but I haven't made much progress on any of the items. Another thing is I might be getting back on Mente for another session of ESAS.
Oh, sure.
Which we. And there's one thing I wanted to ask, that suppose if I'm just checking the discussion forums, to check if someone needs any help. So there is one thing that earlier mentioned, that you should post on the Slack channel that you are checking the particular discussion. We are monitoring the forum for a particular time, and then.
Yeah.
So is there any particular? It means we just have to post a message, or is some sort of particular format, or
Yeah. I mean, so that, and I think I mentioned, but let's. I'll just mention that because that's going to be relevant potentially to Kai and so on. I mean, I'm still not sure that this is necessarily the best way to do it, but the idea is that ultimately we'll be using, I don't know whether we use the AV102, we'll probably use the AV102 channel. Is here, you'll be doing something like just popping something in here like this, right? And then when you finish, we'll say, I mean, like, ultimately, sort of what we want is some way just to let people know kind of how many other people are online and reviewing the forum. So like if there's 10 people reviewing the forums at the same time, then it's sort of like we just so my idea is, and I think it's worked to some degree, is that we just check in through the AV102 like that and see how that goes. Maybe at some point we'll build a custom solution for that. So that's the idea, if that makes some sense.
Right. So,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We'll see how it goes. All right. Yes. So, well, that's the stand-up then. The Scrum. I guess so. We've got. I guess we could be looking at some of the local support things that Piotr was mentioning. I know that Kai now is doing this for the, and possibly also Piotr actually, maybe for the AV102 course. And so I think, if I'm not incorrect, Kai, so it's about want to vote on some stories. Yes. Is part of the thing. So I think what we'll do is, particularly to local support was being discussed. Let's see if we can do just some quick voting on local support stories. We have got a few that need voting on. So Kai, you're familiar in general terms with the local support software? I mean, not the software. I mean the project itself, right?
Not deeply. I just read the summary and.
Sure. Which is, I just, and I'm not expecting you to have any familiarity at all with the software. Just, I think it helps, so it's like this directory of different, charity organisations in part of London, and also has a volunteer, lists of volunteers and so on. So, the exercise here is to kind of go through voting on a story, and of course, someone who's got more experience of the code base is arguably going to be able to make a more accurate assessment of how difficult or not a story might be. But it doesn't really matter. It's kind of the process of voting on the story is just a sort of a structured way of thinking about the problem together, and if we were a consistent team, just gradually moving towards being able to estimate more effectively. But the key thing is sort of the exploration of ideas and the process. So we've got here, I've now got this like features only view. So this is, you can sort of see here in Pivotal Tracker. Now Kai, you're familiar roughly with Pivotal Tracker? You've used it before?
Yes, we used it for Project Unify.
Project Unify, yes. There you go. Yeah, so I've just got a particular view on it here, and we can see with the stars, these are features. So we've got being able to search volunteer ops. That's one that's been green, that's been deployed. That's like, now we have a search text. We can search for things in there. So we've got various work that's in progress. Actually, this one here is the feature that Piotr was just talking about, that he's working on with Zmago. We've got other people working on there. Some of them Piotr is also working on. And then we've got other ones that haven't been started, but you can see this little, the 2, 1, and so on. Basically, we've previously voted on many of these in terms of their complexity, how difficult we think they're going to be to get done. Oops, what happens there? I don't want that. Go away. So I think we've got, and then we've got some that haven't been voted on. So I think, now this one, I have a feeling that actually we've already done delete do it ops that are no longer available. I think, yeah, that's been replaced. And I'm almost like, yeah, I think I may just go ahead and I kind of want to put this into a bin and not necessarily delete it permanently, but I haven't worked out a way to do that here. I guess, yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and delete it now. Let's get rid of it. Okay, but let's have a look here. We've got a single story here. We'll just vote on one. I mean, I don't know how much time you guys have got. I should also get on and do other things. But we've got here a story which is post our volunteer opportunities to do it. And so I'll just mention, so we have in our, you can see here in our volunteer thing, we have 2 types of icon. We have these kind of green ones, and so what this is these are there's a national UK volunteer organization called Do It, and they have an API, and we pull data out of their system and display it in ours. So if we just look at the volunteer map again, so all the green dots here, that's all volunteer opportunities that have been registered in the national Do It volunteer system, and we've used their API to pull that out into here. And the red ones are ones that have been registered locally through our system. So this story relates to that. I'm just going to take the link to the story. I'm going to post it into the local support channel. Everybody should make sure that they're in the local support channel. I guess, Kai, I'll invite you in there, and I think the others. In there, Piotr, and I think probably Puneet, you're already in there. So we're voting on that story. Now this story is kind of the symmetrical component of what we're doing at the moment, which is pulling in data from the Do It system into our system, is the ability to have our volunteer opportunities listed on the national Do It system. So it's post our volunteer ops to do it. At the moment, if we're logged in with somebody with appropriate, well, can I do that? Let's log in with, log me in. There we go. If we have the ability to create volunteer opportunities through the system, this creation operation here would simply create the opportunity locally in our system, but it would not put it onto the national database. So this story here is that basically, from the perspective of the system administrator, so that the volunteer opportunities that are posted locally on our site have the maximum reach possible, we'd like them to go to our, posted to the third-party Do It volunteering site. So that's just a quick overview of this feature. Does that make sense in the first instance?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Is this an automated process during you create the volunteer, or is it something the admin has to do manually later?
Well, at the moment, if we want it to happen, it would have to be a manual admin process. What we're hoping with this feature is to do it automatically, so that in the code behind the scenes. So we've got, if we just quickly can go to the code base for local support. So yeah, this create a volunteer opportunity. We've got a volunteer opportunities controller. So what we would basically be looking to is to add some kind of hook in here that, assuming that the like maybe just in here, in fact, assuming that the creation process has gone correctly, then we would want to call out to some sort of service. We've got an existing, we've got this, this is a service that we've created already. This is the one that imports the Do It volunteer opportunities. So we would probably want to create like a post Do It volunteer opportunities service that would then have the code that would hit the API. And so you can see there's, this is like the API that we do to grab the data from the system. So we would need the equivalent, rather than having a get operation. Does this actually specify that it's a get? Where do we do that? Yeah, here is your HTTP get there. You can see we would need to work out the syntax about how to do an HTTP, and when I say syntax, we do HTTP post, and we need to work out the exact form of the API to submit to the Do It system.
Okay.
That makes sense? Yeah. So, if that makes sense, are we ready to vote on the complexity of doing this as 1, 2, or 3, or are there any more questions or things that need clarifying at all?
For me, it's clear.
Oh,
yes.
And yeah, also for Kai and for Praneet.
Yes.
Yep. Great. Okay. Well, we can go. I'm just thinking there is. I've got. There's the notes. We do need API key, which I have got sent by Chris. There is API docs in. Anyway, I'll find that. I'll add that later. But let's yeah. So then the guidelines are usually 1 trivial is kind of trivial. If you've got a minor change to just the view or what have you, then I give it 1.2 is kind of like extensive maybe database work, new model, new gem, what have you. Maybe make that 2. 3 then extensive changes, multiple database changes, multiple new gems that we haven't used before, and so on and so forth. So if you want to get ready for voting, so what you want to do is put either a 1 or a 2 or a 3 into this local support channel there. Don't press return, and then we'll all synchronously do it. So let's go for 3, if everybody's ready. Yeah, okay. We all found the local support channel. So just type in your number there, and I'll give us a countdown, and we'll all press return together. 3, 2, 1, go!
And for me, Slack is not working actually right now.
Oh, okay. What was your vote then, Praneet?
1.
You're going to give it a 1. All right. Okay. Well, interestingly, there we've got Piotr and myself kind of being very conservative and giving it a 3. Kai's given it a 2. Praneet's given it a 1. Yes. Should we start with Praneet? Why were you thinking that it was a 1?
I thought that no, it's just the level of complexity. I thought it's not that much that it can be given to, but maybe my judgment was not so accurate.
No, to take your point, I mean, I think in principle, the funny thing about this is, in principle, it shouldn't be that complex. It's kind of, we have done, as I was showing you there in the code base, we've done quite a lot of the elements. We know, okay, there needs to be a little code insertion here. We need this separate service, and the service is not going to hit the database. So Yeah, I agree with you in principle. Not that complex. Yeah, well, let's before I go on further, Kai, do you want to talk about your reasoning behind it being a 2 as opposed to a 1 or a 3?
Yeah, I think maybe you have to get a bit familiar with the API docs and make some code, but I don't think that is as much code you have to produce that 3 would be reasonable.
Yes, no, and I take your point. I mean, I think your yes, what you described there makes sense. Absolutely, the API docs. I'm struggling in the background to find the actual link to the big API docs, which I want to put into the ticket, but I won't hold us up on that. They do have actually good documentation, so that's for the positive. I guess. Well, rather than I do too much talking, Piotr, do you want to say why you thought it was maybe more a 3 than a 2? What was your sense?
So I was thinking about 3 because it's unknown how the API is working, and if it's in fact complex to do this thing, if they let it do easily or not. So because of that, of course, the thing that makes it easier is that we already have some part of the API implemented. But still, we don't know how they have it organized in as for pushing changes from other applications.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, well, and the interesting thing there is, it's so frustrating that I can't quickly bring to my hands the API documentation. That they actually do have a reasonable documentation, and there is details there on how to do the post request, and it is something that is in principle supported. Of course, there's always this gap between what's supported in principle and what actually works. And until, for me, the key thing would be to do, I want to do a tracer bullet. Is everybody familiar with the tracer bullet concept?
No.
So this is an important coding concept. There's a great book actually called The Pragmatic Programmer that you guys might be interested in reading. Let's do Pragmatic, which is this book by Andrew Hunter, Dave Thomas. Dave Thomas, I think, is the co-creator of Rails, and he wrote this before he wrote Rails. There's lots of great things in it. One of them is this idea of a tracer bullet. They mention it in software development, a term used in Scrum, software development there. So, and it's about, so you can see here, I'll just put that in there. It's sort of a quick check. Can we do, can we do the thing that we were hoping to do? And it's a really important thing because it's sometimes it's difficult to know, will this work? So before necessarily writing an entire tested version of the thing, we might just do an experimental hit on the API to see that if we can, in principle, create something. And then having had that work, we know that the overall task is kind of like likely to be not that hard. So in summary then, I guess what I would sort of say, although Kai's position very, very reasoned and wonderful, there's this kind of, because we haven't yet tested whether the API works according to the way it's described that it works, and also because I'm aware that there's probably going to be requirements from that API about extra details, like this view is going to have to change and going to have to be designed, and then there's various little bits and pieces. I guess I'm kind of going on the conservative side of of a 3 rather than a 2. But does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Good show. So should we? I mean, we had the majority on 3. I mean, just to make it to Kai and Puneet, would you be willing to concede to a 3 based on a further discussion?
Yes. 3 is okay for me.
All right. Okay, so that's done. Right. So let me make sure that you've got. So I'll just put the link there. So for Kai, you've now got all the components for your assignment.
Okay. Yes.
And you can see how that all worked. Much as I love voting on stories, I think there's quite a lot of other things to be getting on with. So maybe we won't vote on any more. But of course, if you loved that process, then come back to many more scrums this week, and we'll do more voting. Yes. So which reminds me, one other thing, I'm going to not be available for the scrum this afternoon. So if anybody could volunteer to host that, possibly Puneet, if you have spare time, that would be great. But anyway, we will see. Do we need, Piotr? Do we need to look at the issue that you were experiencing with Zmago? Is the latest code in here?
So I'm not sure if he put it there.
Yeah, well, I did see the coveralls drop actually there. That's the key thing here. I guess we'll say, you know, stand up is done. You know, Kai and Puneet, feel free to. Well,
here.
Yeah,
he was telling me that he didn't change anything here. So that was why he was really surprised about this drop, because he didn't change anything in the controller.
Yes, well, and I think I would say just two quick things there. One is that I don't always trust coveralls. Like coveralls sometimes is a bit weird. The second thing is here, all of this test miss stuff here, this is all related to sort of these controller internals, and so creating a view spec would not change this coverage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So it's not about specs of views.
It's not about a view spec. I mean, I think that, well, now if we look at here, what has happened? Yeah, and I can't see immediately. I mean, I would say actually, what's happened there? Hold on, volunteer op spec.
But it's for model, no?
Yeah, that's for model. I mean, I would also, another thing there, and this is frustrating with the system, is it's possible that coverage drop is due to some failures in the tests in the continuous integration system. And I've had this before. We'll see if they're all. Sometimes the tests there you go. Look, we've got a failure here in the test that has, for some reason, not caused, and there's several, in fact, look, there's several there, which have not caused the overall tests to fail.
And look, you have you had also this problem that we experienced, that sometimes Google API is showing over limit query, but it's something strange, because on some specs it shows it always, on others it shows never or sometimes. So that's strange.
Well, that may be true. Although, what are you referring to this error here? Are you thinking that this is an over limits query?
No. I've seen here somewhere actual message when you were like scrolling through here.
Yeah.
There it was.
Right. Well, but although I would say that this here is not telling us that we're over the limits. This is just telling us that the VCR gem, which is providing our sandboxing, doesn't know how to handle a particular kind of request here. So basically what that means is that you're familiar with what VCR is doing?
So it's helping us with not hitting other APIs. It's recording the state of some other APIs and mocking these APIs.
That's right. And so I would imagine here that the problem is related to, I mean, I think I don't know why those cucumber tests are failing, but like, I think we would have to get into in more detail, but so I think the coverage is kind of a red herring. I mean, I filed a bug report to Travis about that. I don't know why it doesn't fail it should be failing at the test step and not the coverage step. But so some kind of change here has caused the type of VCR request to change. Why?
What I've learned yesterday is that like creating organization wasn't a problem, but creating a volunteer ops was a problem. So maybe VCR is not set up for that properly.
Well, and maybe what we've got here, we can see like we've got VCR is wrapping this scenario, and there's a process here where I guess. See now, what's okay? I think that that's another VCR. Okay, here we go. No, I think I see the problem. Basically, this VCR here should be at the level of the feature, and not at the level of the scenario. So that's something that we've done in the website one projects. Yeah, so that's basically what this, and Praneet was working on this the other day for website one. This VCR tag means that this scenario is wrapped in VCR, right? But this scenario
but the background is not.
Is not. Well, the background is not, and also, as well, this scenario is not. So I think that the key thing, and actually this is something that throughout the whole local support project, we need to make sure that the app VCR is moved from the scenario level to the feature level.
Okay.
And I think that may sort the problem out. Yeah.
Okay, so I can do it today maybe.
Yeah, there may be other, I'd also notice here that, for example, when this volunteer opportunity is created, see here the address is not set, so the geocoding is based on the address there. And anyway, yeah, I think we've got to the bottom of the issue, and what it really makes me want to do is go back to the Travis.
But here also what we are talking about is now VCR is only for Cucumber or also for RSpec.
VCR is only for Cucumber. I mean, it can be used in collaboration with RSpec, but the way that we have the projects set up is...
Yesterday, in fact, we were working on one specs in RSpec, and we had the similar problem. So when we are creating the volunteer op, we had this Google API over limit notice.
Then potentially... Is my audio still there? Sorry, it's kind of I think that's potentially a separate problem. But actually now the approach that you took to solve that you described sounds the correct one, because at least the way that we're operating is that the RSpec tests themselves as kind of unit tests in this case. Not that you can use RSpec for acceptance tests, but they should be being stubbed closer to the system. You know what I mean? So if you've got kind of like an attempted network connection from the specs, that's well, telling you one, it's kind of integration test, and then we might use webmock or something there. But yes. So anyway.
Okay.
That's I don't think we've got any specs failing from there. I mean, the interesting thing there is, how does that influence the coverage? I'm not sure if we've got our features actually contributing to the coverage, but clearly before we worry about coverage, we should first fix the failing errors, and sometimes then that will lead on to that. Yeah.
Okay.
But so I was just looking here. Okay, right, and so actually, so this, yeah, we've got. This is right. So we've got this thing. This is in fact the problem. So we've got. Is that in there? Yeah. So there's a maybe even higher priority task is that we need to fix this rate test with cover rules. So I did ask them about it. I didn't follow it completely. But so that becomes then that's quite a high priority chore, which is fix custom break task with cover.
I can't hear you now.
And that's Google trying to be helpful by muting me when I'm typing. Okay. Yes. Oh, and do we actually have a high priority label? We don't. We can high priority. Okay. So yeah, that needs to be fixed. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good work there. Right, I think on with the day. Thanks everyone. Great to have you with us in the Scrum Kai. Anything else that we need to concern ourselves with, or I will say, woohoo!
So the video will get on the Slack or not?
Oh well, I put it into the thing here, but I can do it both also.
Okay. Okay.
I'll put it in. I'll put both of the links the Slack as well. Puneet, will you be around for the afternoon Scrum and such that you'd be able to run it, start it if I'm not around?
Yes, I think so. I'll be there.
Yeah, I just there might be some people from maybe 1 or 2, and possibly you could even lead them from through a vote on a story. Anyways, see how you go. I'll also ping Raoul because of course we're not having the kickoff meeting this afternoon because I've got to move it to Friday. Anyway, great stuff, guys.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Keep coding. Code.
Code.
Bye.
Bye.